Hey Gearslugs, it's Calc here from NOVATION, and here we are at ADE in Amsterdam, the Amsterdam Dance Event, and this is the first public showing for the brand new Launchpads that we've been working on. And here we have the Launchpad X and of course the new Launchpad Mini Mark III. So the Launchpad has been around for some time, you know, it's over 10 years since the original Launchpad was released. And in that time it's gone through a number of different generations. We started off with red, green and yellow pads on there. Now of course we're full colour, and of course that's one of the key things that we have here on the Launchpad Mini. We now have full RGB, whereas the Launchpad Mini Mark II was really the red, green and yellow. Now we have full colour representation of our clips. Here we have the Launchpad X, and if we start on this one, so what is the Launchpad X? Well, as you can see, it's a grid of 64 buttons. It was originally designed for launching and taking control of your Ableton sessions window. And of course here we are connected to Ableton, and this is my sessions window, and I have all my clips, so I can quite easily just launch them whenever I like. You know, I can launch them as and when, combinations. I can also use the scene buttons to launch a whole scene here, so I press on a scene, it launches. So I can use this to take full control over my session window in Ableton Live. So obviously that's a great way of being able to give you, full control of what's going on here on the screen. But in addition, we've added some new features, and these are really kind of bringing the Launchpad X alive, I think. So for example, on the previous Launchpads we would have a mixer button which was over on this side. Now we've joined the session button and the mixer button together. So if I press mixer, now I have access to all my mixer controls. So for example, here I have volume controls. I can go, bring the volumes up, bring them down, or whatever I want to do here. And you'll notice as well that they're actually responsive to a brand new thing on the Launchpad X, the velocity sensitivity. So for example, and this is very similar on the workflow of the Launchpad Pro, if I press very hard, we get a nice immediate jump of the volume control. But if I use the velocity and press a little lighter, you'll see I get a nice gradual fade out here. Also, we've increased the resolution of these as well. So if you notice on this switch here, that's quite dimly lit. If I press again, it gets a bit brighter, a little bit brighter, and even more full bright. And again, if we look at the fader here in Ableton, as I press that, you can see the fader moving in small increments. And this means we've got even higher resolution now on our fader controls within the Launchpad X. Alongside that, we've got our usual things such as pan controls, and once again these are working and reacting to the velocity control. Send effects as well, so I can use this to control sending channels to effects processors. We also have stop clips, so I can use this bottom row while still keeping all my session window exposed at the top here to stop the clips. I can use it to mute my tracks. If I want to isolate a track, I can solo a track using this as well. And I can also arm tracks ready for recording. So using the arrows here, I can scroll around, and if I scroll all the way this way, I'm going to go here and record on this track, because now we'll visit the note mode. So when I go to note mode, you'll see here I've got a full grid of basically controlling keyboard. Now if I press and hold the note mode, I can go in and manage this. So if I just turn this mode off, which is scales, and go back, you'll see now I have a full grid that is giving me a full chromatic keyboard. Purple lights being the octaves, and the blue lights in between basically representing notes that you'll find in the scale. The non-lit notes will also still send a MIDI note, but those are the notes that are in between the notes of the scale. So here we've got access to all of the notes, all 12 chromatic notes. But if I press and hold the note mode, I can switch on the scale feature. Now, here I have a series of 16 different scales built into the hardware that allow me to choose the scale that I want to choose. So here we're set to a minor. If we go back, now you'll see the layout has completely changed. And I actually have a full minor scale here on each row, which is great. But if you're kind of feeling that might be a little bit difficult to play, maybe with one hand, if you're holding a microphone like I'm doing at the moment, it's a bit difficult. If we go back to the note mode menu, I can use the overlap feature. So here, if I set it to 3, now I can use just 3 fingers and play the whole scale. And that's directly in the hardware, and that will allow me to control and record in. Now the note mode is quite interesting because it's dynamic, and what I mean by that is if I choose a different track to record into, here we're going to a drum rack based track, we go back and now the note mode is obviously showing me a drum rack grid. So that's really the note mode, which is in the Launchpad X. So let's think about the next thing, which is the capture MIDI. So if I start to tap a nice rhythm out here, and obviously I'm just kind of doing this blind as we're doing the video, but maybe I thought that was a really nice idea and I wanted to record that. So like we always do, you hit record, you go back, and it's never quite the same kind of beat that you created. Well, Ableton, since Live 10, has got a great feature called Capture MIDI. So if I press and hold this MIDI button, it creates a brand new clip in there, and there's the last bit that I've recorded. In fact, it's recorded for quite a while behind. So I need never lose that idea. Even though it's time to, I want to re-record it maybe, it doesn't matter if I can't play it the same way because I've always got my Capture MIDI available. If I want to overdub, I can just hit that again, and now I can add extra parts and really build up my drum pattern in this instance. But of course, it doesn't matter if it's on a drum rack or if it's on a chromatic control. So that's a brand new knob a control that we have on there, and that really opens up a lot more possibilities when using the Launchpad. Now, finally, I want to talk a little bit about the custom modes. So the custom modes allow us to really kind of define what the Launchpad X is. Out of the box, you'll have 2 custom modes, but Launchpad X actually has 4 places to hold custom modes. The first one will be this drum pad control here, split into 4 quarters, which gives us a nice kind of place to play. If I press this one now, I get 4 octave chromatic keyboards. And you can see we have our black notes here and the white notes here. So actually it's a 4 octave controller keyboard at this point. But how do we create our own custom pages? Well, this is where we move to the computer, and if I just swipe across here, this is taking us to our Novation Components software. So here we've got all of the different products that are managed by Components. With Components, it's a completely standalone software, but also it's available on the cloud. So, you can use Components wherever you are in the world, and you can always access your work if you want to work on the cloud. But if you want to work directly on your own computer, you can just use the standalone version instead. But if we go to the Launchpad X option here, and we say, let's create a custom mode, and now I'm presented here with an image of the Launchpad. We go to our widgets here. Now I can do things like grab a fader. Let's put a couple of faders on here. Let's grab a drum rack here, put that in the middle. Maybe we'll put a couple of extra faders here. Let's go for a bipolar fader, so effectively a crossfader. And maybe we want to add some MIDI notes for switching sort of duties. So let's put a MIDI note there. Let's put a MIDI note there. And basically, I can create whatever I want on here. Now I can click on these and then define what they are meant to be. So here we've got a CC value. Let's change that CC value. Maybe we want to change the colors here. So maybe we'll go for a blue here. Maybe we'll go for a nice yellow here. Maybe we want the drum grid to be a nice purple color. Let's click on this one. Let's add a new different CC value here. Make that, let's go green here. And then finally we'll go on this one and we'll make that a different CC value again. And let's make that kind of a pink. So we've got all of these things. I can define the MIDI channel as well. And when I'm happy with that, let's go to a mode. Now, I can overwrite custom mode 1 and 2, or let's go to an empty one, number 3. I hit center Launchpad, and now if you watch on the Launchpad here, as soon as I press the button on the computer, there it is. And now I have got my own faders here. I've got a drum rack here. I have a crossfader available for me here as well, so up and down or into the middle. And I also have another fader here as well. So the Launchpad X can be completely defined to whatever you want it to be. I have 4 custom pages, and I can create up to 4 different things. In fact, before we came out to Amsterdam, I was having a lot of fun back home creating some mappings for my beloved Electron Octatrack. And actually, that really opened up a lot of possibilities. I created a full fader bank for the volume controls for all 8 tracks of the audio tracks on the Octatrack. I also created a second page where I was using mutes, track mutes, sending it out to the queue, soloing tracks. But one thing that I was really happy about finding was the ability to be able to set sample triggers as well in there. So I set up 4 different sample tracks, and I can just instantly punch a button here, and that will let me record directly into those tracks. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities. Now, the Launchpad X and Launchpad Mini are going to be controlled via USB. It's a USB-C connection, but it's in the box. You'll get a USB-C to USB-A to connect directly to your computer. So that's the Launchpad X, which is the big one. But let's have a little moment now to talk about the Launchpad Mini, which for the first time in the range of the Launchpads has been given its own position. This is the most affordable grid controller and cost effective, but also you can see is very, very small, light and portable. So it's had, again, a nice design, a new design on there. We've gone for square buttons down the side here, which feel great and look wonderful, I believe. And again, with the Launchpad X here is kind of designed to let you play and express yourself with all your different things. Launchpad Mini Mark III is really designed to help you launch your clips directly in Ableton. Now, the big difference here on the Launchpad Mini Mark III over the Launchpad Mini Mark II is the fact we've given full color to this. So now, of course, I have my session window and I've got a full color feedback as to what's going on here. Have the usual things of navigation, again, like Launchpad X, I can move around. And really, this is designed to just let you take control in a live situation over that session window. So down here, I have a button that says Stop Solo Mute. And when I press this, I get a new lane of controls. This allows me to stop clips, solo them, and mute them as well. So really, again, it's allowing me to take control over that mixer. Like on the Launchpad X as well, I can use the scene launching here to launch a whole row of scenes as well. And this is really where the Launchpad Mini is kind of aimed at those people really wanting to take control over that session window. But of course, we've also got custom modes. So again, like the Launchpad X, we have a drum page here and a keys page here and a user page. But all three of these pages can be defined again in the same way using the wonderful component software to create our own mappings. So in exactly the same way, in fact, we can go here to the PC that we're connected to. Here we've got a mapping that we created earlier. Let's send that to Launchpad Mini. And once again, if we can go over, let's go over the drums page here. So I'm going to select custom mode 1. And as I press that, you'll see here, bang, we've got that directly on the Launchpad Mini. So, like the Launchpad X, we can define what we want to, how we want to use this as a controller. So that's a good look at both of the brand new offerings from the Launchpad range from Novation, Launchpad X and the Launchpad Mini Mark III. Both fantastic solutions for controlling Ableton Live software, but also using the custom mappings really opens up a brand new world of possibilities with these devices. These should be hitting the stores basically now, so you should be able to go and try these out in your stores. But go and have a taste, go and have a play around with them, see how they feel for you, and enjoy using them. Thanks very much for watching.